Good morning, everybody. You are listening to K-Talk Radio 1640 AM. This is the show Utah Home Sweet Home. I'm your host, Yoshi Shiraki, and today our very special guest is Richard Paul Evans. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's good to be here, and thanks for the snow.
Yeah, yes. I don't have to introduce Richard Paul Evans, but I'm going to read a little bit here of a bio for those of you who may just want to hear how accomplished he is. Man, when I read through this, I knew you were accomplished, but this was great to read through. So, #1 global bestseller, The Christmas Box. I love this. He never intended to become an internationally known author. The story was written as an expression of love for his 2 young daughters. 3 years later, this quite simple story of parental love and the true meaning of Christmas made history when it became simultaneously the #1 hardcover paperback book in the nation. Since then, more than 8 million copies of The Christmas Box have been printed. I saw a speech that you did that talked about 8 million copies being equivalent to how many Empire State
Buildings?
Buildings?
Oh my gosh, it's like 400 Empire State Buildings.
Four?
It was, yeah.
World Trade Centers or
yeah,
something?
It's the Mount Everest 11 times, yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So that's incredible. 41 consecutive New York best-selling books. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Do you just write full time, or do you enjoy life? do you ski, hike?
No, I know. I laugh because my wife would have broke out laughing if I said that. She's like, she's always trying to get me to write full time. I spend 90% of my time I'm an entrepreneur. I run the charity.
Yes.
And it's like, the thing is about writing is that it's painful. So, and so I do it in doses, actually.
Got it. Well, I don't know how you were able to put out 41 consecutive New York best-selling books in doses.
I've been doing it since I was 29, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was a kid when I wrote that first book. In fact, last night, Carrie and I watched The Christmas Box. She goes, let's watch that DVD. We haven't seen it for 10 years.
Wow.
And watched it. It's like, oh my gosh. There's a scene where actually my family is in the movie. And
Really?
It's like, I was a kid. I was so young. And I'm holding my daughter. My one daughter is now an international best-selling author. The other is in her doctorate program. And I'm holding their hands, walking through those little girls walking through the parking lot with Maureen O'Hara and Richard Thomas. It's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
So yeah, my daughter was with us. She's from Texas, and we just stopped it. It's like, look, there you are. This little girl with a bob cut. It was awesome.
That is fantastic. What scene is this, in the parking lot? Which parking lot?
They go to buy a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
And so that's where we have our cameo. And,
Ah.
and so the real Evans family crosses. We actually passed the movie Evans family.
Gotcha. Yes, I love that he was Richard Evans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that actually kind of freaked me out because it kept saying Richard and Jenna and Carrie. It's like, Carrie, this is like, oh my gosh, that's my name. And it's just like, it felt so weird watching it. So
Right.
It's been a long time.
Right. That's amazing. So now you've just released a book called The Noel Letters. I've got a picture of it right here. Do you mind sharing a little bit with us about what this book's about? And I'm always fascinated with the inspiration of things. In the past, I was in the fashion world, and we'd create looks for the new collection. And where inspiration comes from sometimes was like, I had a colleague that was like, the way the grass was mowed inspired him to create a haircut like that once.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So I love hearing inspiration stories behind something.
This, I have no idea. I wish I could give you a good story. I mean, the story itself, it's about a young woman coming home. It's about the truth will set us free, and we all have false beliefs in our past. And this is about a young woman coming home to see her father. They're estranged. She hasn't seen him in 10 years, and she's only coming home because he's dying. And he begs her to come home. As he says to her, there's things that need to be said.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to hear them, doesn't want to talk to him. But she's now a book editor in New York, and he actually got her in there. He owns a bookstore. He's a very intelligent man, but he dies before she gets back, and she gets back, and she thinks she'll be here for a few days. Wants to go back to her life, and everything's uprooted. She starts to understand that what she believed her world to be is not true. And it's a really powerful experience. I mean, I've had that experience in my life. I think we all have. When all of a sudden, some of the premises that you base your life on, you realize foundationally that they're not true.
Yeah.
It shakes everything.
Yeah.
but it's also a beautiful release. That's where we find truth and freedom, and so that's what the book's about. This woman, and you start out not really liking her, and you'll love her in the end. It's just like, but it's also a character I think we can all relate to.
Very cool. Very cool. And is it a sequel to anything?
No,
or
it's not. It's not. My publisher said, please don't call the next book Noelle anything, because people think it's part of a series. But then what I did a collection. And I decided about 10 years ago to go back and really write some Christmas stories. Holiday stories every fall. And so like I had the Mistletoe collection and the Noelle collection. And they've done really well. I mean, Noelle Diaries being produced as a feature film by Netflix.
Wow.
Starring Justin Hartley. It does in production right now. Noelle Street's being written to a movie by the guy who wrote Pretty Woman. I mean, it's almost everything I've written has been produced or is being produced or is being shopped right now. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm on kind of this crazy run right now.
That is insane. So yes, let me go back here for a second. According to this, and it sounds like more, 7 of your books have produced into television and movies that have starred well-known actors as Maureen O'Hara, Rob Lowe, Christopher Lloyd, James Earl Jones, Naomi Watts, and Academy Award winners Vanessa Redgrave and Ellen Burstyn. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Cool, yeah. My son wasn't impressed until he realized that the Back to the Future guy was in my movie. And it's like, oh. It's like, yeah, Christopher Lloyd. And I actually had a cameo with Rob Lowe, which was pretty funny, because I walked up to him and it's like, all the extras on the set, it's like, don't talk to him. It's like, there's all these girls, he's looking at me, like, don't you dare approach me, And I go, hi Rob, I'm Richard Evans. And he's like, oh. He's like, oh, it's okay, you have permission. You're an author. It's like, and he goes, oh, I'm playing you. I go, kind of, yeah, don't tell my wife that, but they were all, it was in a perfect day, and he was playing this author.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Very exciting. So, if you don't mind me asking, how does that look? So, I had a gentleman who was on the show. He played for the Oakland Raiders, right? And the initial, like, hey, you're going to be on the Raiders. Like, what does that look like? Say, Richard, somebody wants to make a movie of one of your books. Do you just get this email or phone call, or do they have to ask you for permission first? Or
Well, I have an agent.
Okay.
And so it all comes. The agent will call me. And I talk to her, almost every day. We're close friends and have been. In fact, she's probably closer to my wife now than to me and my kids. We basically were both kids when we started. When she took me on, and her name was Lori Liss. She had discovered the bridges of Madison County, which was as a kid. So
yes.
This was like, and no one wanted it, and she took it and became the biggest book. One of the biggest books of the century. It's certainly the biggest book in America, and so that was where she started. But she was really young, and so I've been with her for a long time.
Wow. So that makes sense. Like the athletes, it goes through their agents as well. Same thing with you. I had a buddy who was a well-known painter, not like painting a house, but like painting pictures,
Right.
and he had an agent too. So that obviously makes a lot of sense. So then they approach your agent, and then okay. And do you have?
I actually have 2 agents.
Oh.
We have actually have 3 agents. You get technical. I have for like international rights, and then I have an agent for movies with Paradigm back in New York. She's
Right.
a pretty big agent.
Got it.
Yeah, it took us years to get in with her, but now she's doing great. So my agent, but Lori she's really, she kind of pulls everything together. Everything comes through her.
Got it. Okay. Very cool. Do you get back to New York a lot?
I used to.
Yeah.
I haven't for a while. COVID's kind of just stopped everything.
Right.
But yeah, I usually go twice a year. I've probably been there 30 times.
Wow, very nice. So speaking of COVID, you just shared with me before. I was asking you if you're doing book signings and tours right now where fans are meeting you. That's been shut down completely, or?
Yeah, we did a drive-by. People, just for my fans, we did a drive-by. People brought their books by. It was kind of fun. My assistant there was kind of funny. We stood in a parking lot and people came. But that was just kind of that I love my fans. I just wanted to support them. But we don't tour. And the thing is, the whole touring model's been kind of uprooted anyway. Mm-hmm. Used to be I'd go into town. Say I'd go into Cincinnati, I'd be on the cover of the Cincinnati Post. You'd
Yes.
go in there and you'd be on the TV and radio. And what's happened is there's kind of been a deterioration of that. So now there's not much media, so it's kind of no point. It's very expensive. you know, tour costs upwards of $50,000.
Wow.
And it's like, well, how much advertising can you buy for that? And
Yeah.
now with social media, like I'm looking at my young adult series, Michael Vey, and it's like, well, I miss these kids and getting out there. And so we did a Zoom meeting, and we couldn't have anticipated. We had 1,500 kids came on.
Oh, wow.
And the funny thing is, like, we were going to take questions, but they were typing in the chat. When you have 1,500 kids who are
Yes.
actively typing, you can't see it. It's a blur. The
Oh,
things
yeah.
going by are a blur. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, there's questions. We know there's lots of questions. We just can't stop any of them, and so we don't know what you're asking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's insane. And do you just do that out of your house? Your Zoom calls out of your house?
So
or?
yes,
Okay.
that was technically at my ranch when I did that. This one of the good things that has happened. I have a ranch in southern Utah, which is my favorite place in the world.
Nice.
And with COVID, my son was over in Europe. When he came back, he had to be quarantined. It's like, well, I can't stay in the house for 2 weeks. So I went down there, the ranch, and I've spent a lot of time down there just writing. And there's just, you know, fresh air, and
Yes.
it's on 200 acres, and it's just like there's no one around.
Right, right.
So it's awesome.
Wow. Did you do your writing down there too, or?
A lot. This with Noah Letter, I did a lot of the writing.
Got it.
Yeah, I've spent almost 3 months down there this year, which I've never done before. I usually spend like a few weeks a year.
Wow, very interesting. Okay, before we part ways, in case you have a dog or know someone else who does have a dog, I wanted to take a quick second to show you the Snap Leash. The Snap Leash can literally do so many things, and I'm going to share with you one of the many cool things that it can do. As you can see, the Snap Leash is designed with 2 swivel hooks, one on each end. This end has a cushion stitched into it to make it comfortable when walking your dog. Now, all you have to do is take this swivel hook, put it into this very first grommet, and now you've got your handle. Okay, so now let's imagine you're at the park and you want to secure your pet quickly, safely, and easily to a park bench, a tree, or a pole because you just want to sit down and relax. Well, all you need to do is take this swivel hook, remove it from the very first grommet, wrap this leash around any size tree or pole or park bench, and put it into the appropriate grommet, and now you have secured your pet quickly, safely, and easily. And when it's time to head home, another great feature about the Snap Leash is you can simply wrap it around your waist for hands-free walking. Lastly, if you ever accidentally forget your waist bags at home, these grommets make a great place to fasten the waist bags so you never leave home without them. And if you want to see all of the other cool things that the Snap Leash can do, then please just click on the link below and find out why so many others are falling in love with the Snap Leash.